You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Almost Human After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Almost Human After Show.
Hey there, Almost Human fans. You know what time it is.
What's up?
What up?
Hey. It's time for the Almost Human After Show. This is episode 5, Blood Brothers. I am Matt Lieberman. Joining me on the panel tonight, we have the full panel here.
Yay.
I think this is the first episode
panel.
where we have all 4 of us. Yes, the family is together. The creepy clone family is finally together around the table. But starting to my right, we have Miss Megan Salinas.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Ryan Hooks.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan Hooks?
And Mr. Zach Wilson.
Hey guys.
Oh man. So, first of all, I'm gonna give my thoughts on this episode. Then I want to just hear what everyone thought. I thought that this, to me, was like a huge step up in complexity of the writing, quality of the production. The performances were top notch. It really got me excited to see. Okay, this is the kind of hour we can put out. 5 weeks into the show airing, and we're going to talk a little bit because there's some controversy about the show airing out of order. We brought it up on the last podcast, and now we've read the articles, we've freaked out about it for a solid week, and now we can talk about it with some measure of decorum. But I thought it was stellar. What did you guys think?
I agree. I'm glad that they finally got some fluid movement in the show. Little character development from more characters. I'm excited to see where everything goes.
I loved it. I am so excited. But this is the kind of science fiction stuff that I was looking forward to. The stuff with the cloning, tied in with the psychic stuff that could be brought in through a procedure. That's the kind of like heavy sci-fi that I'm going to just get excited about, and I hope that it keeps coming back.
Yeah. What'd you think, Megan?
I thought that was a lot of fun, especially just the way she's like, I'm a petite psychic on good days. What I really liked about this
Again,
episode...
the show is a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Yes, sorry, go
But
ahead.
I really liked the character bits from that. I liked her as a character. I thought she was adorable and a lot of fun. I like getting more of Detective Stahl. We find out she's a big sports fan.
Yeah,
everything
she's like
that.
a hard-edged, tough chick. She doesn't take no guff
Drinks
when
bourbon, watches
when
soccer.
Yeah, she rocks.
Yeah, Kennex and Dorian, their back and forth was great as always. And then we got a bit on the captain. I really liked that.
Yeah, no.
And Captain D-Bag got put in his place.
Yes!
Oh, yes. D-Bag Cop Detective Paul got put in his place, but also he's starting week by week, starting to feel like more like a natural part of this group. Like, we need somebody who's kind of a dick. He's on the side of right. We don't hate him, but we can't like him necessarily.
Well, there's a lot of cop shows. You always need that one curmudgeon.
He's a prickly pear.
He's never out to do bad. He
No.
just has a bad attitude about the good things.
Right, like that's the thing. If he had an ounce of Dorian's charm, he could be Dorian, because he's making similar jokes. But whereas Dorian, I think, sees the light and the humor and everything, this guy's just a D. But we're going to get to him later. We also got something that I think all of television is lacking, which is just a healthy dose of male android nudity. Full frontal Ken doll, which, I literally fell off my couch. I was laughing so hard.
10-second pause for me. I had to stop it and just collect
You stopped and
myself
stared at it,
before I
didn't you?
continued. Yeah, oh yeah.
That's something that I feel like they would have left out of most films, let alone a Fox series that airs at 8 p.m. on a Monday.
I was watching with my roommate.
Opposite The Voice.
That's very
Sorry.
true. And
Suck on
this
that
was the
voice.
first episode she had ever seen. And so she's not really paying attention up until she looks up at the screen, and that happens to be the very first thing she's actually seen of watching this show.
And she's like, what are you watching?
Literally, she was like, whoa, what is this?
They've got Adam Levine. We've got male android nudity.
Yeah. And we learned, of course, that Dorian, by other standards, is quote unquote.
Well inept.
He's packing. He's packing heat. He's got the AK-47 equivalent of android dongs. And we're going to move past that and forget I ever said the words android dongs ever. Strike it from the record.
Stricken.
Yes, stricken. Ugh.
There's so much there to play with, though.
Literally, yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah.
You suck. Jesus, Zach. Oh, man. All right.
He's like Data from Star Trek.
He is. Well, what, Data had an android dong? We're still talking
Yeah.
about
Yes, he did. He's anatomically
We
correct.
can't escape it, can we?
Okay, yes, we can by talking about something else. Namely,
Moving on.
the trial that we were dropped into in this episode. We have Maldonado, this case that had happened some months ago that she's determined to put this guy away, this murderer who's this, rich philanthropist on trial for murder. No evidence left at the scene, but 2 eyewitnesses. And immediately you can tell how much this matters to her. She's on the stand. She can't let this guy slip away. And we get to see an intensity and a passion from her that we haven't before. She's being a captain. A captain still wants the side of right to win. They're still determined that the law must pass, must be righteous. But this is personal. This is intensely personal. And it gets even more personal when he's chastising her later. And I loved the way that they did this witness thing, because that's absolutely how they'd handle it in the future. You take them to an off-site area where they should be safe.
Safety
Theoretically.
Safety first. And they're just hanging out in this hotel room, and then you use your special 3D cameras to bring them into the courtroom. Somehow completely like three-dimensional,
yeah.
and if they turn around, you can see their back, or everyone can see. It's not like a flat thing, but it's the future, so it's okay.
It's all okay in 50 years.
Everything is okay.
35 years.
Yeah.
Who knows where they'll be in 50?
But I agree. That's
Oh
sort
my
of a really
God.
nice dynamic with her in this and her intensity. And I loved the scene when Ethan Avery was chastising her in the prison. I wanted her to punch him or
Right?
do something, because he was just going at her hard.
Yeah, which made her victory all the sweeter when she's like, you may not have realized this yet, but let me lay it down for you. You're going to jail. And a few years from now, people might mention you in passing, but you will die alone and no one will remember you.
Or care.
Suck it!
Boom.
And that
Suck
was
it, murderer.
beautiful. The entire time he's giving her this little, he's trying to be like Hannibal Lecter and psychoanalyzing her. The entire time I'm like, she's just taking all of this in, and I can't wait for the moment in this episode when she plays him like a fiddle. That I was so looking forward to that, and it happened.
And she totally did. When
yes.
she's walking him down that hallway, he's like the cat that ate the canary. It's like, I haven't been in contact with anyone on the outside.
No, yeah, I
he
didn't do
wasn't a
anything.
part of this plan to get him sprung. He's just like, oh, my little clone friends are doing exactly what I would have done. My smart little clone buddies. Wrong!
Burn.
Sick burn.
And just the smile on her face when she turns around and he's like, what's going on? Why am I not being released?
And all the
Yeah.
cops come out of nowhere, hiding in the hallways.
What is with his prison outfit is basically Eddie Murphy's jacket from Eddie Murphy Raw, that red leather
man.
jacket, just in orange with
That's
the
what
zipper
all
down the
inmates
front.
wear in the future.
I guess.
It has those weird hooks on the shoulder
Yeah.
area, on the
Just
chest.
because he's an inmate doesn't mean he can't be fashionable.
I guess that's true. He is rich. He is rich enough that he could probably get some fancy
He
prison.
paid
Can
for a
afford.
redesign on the prison uniforms.
Probably.
Because he's worth it.
Yeah.
Just fabulous.
Hey,
You're worth it.
You're worth it. You're worth
Viewers,
it.
you're
Ethan
worth it.
Avery. Yeah, you are worth it, viewers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or watching as we talk about dongs. All right. So, he committed this murder, and then all of a sudden, these witnesses suddenly a mysterious gunman shows up after a nice little bit of character development between them, blasts an MX in the face, kicks open the door, and shoots our witness. And it's so horrifying. It's like if anyone watches Doctor Who, in the 7th season finale, they were doing this thing where
Spoiler alert.
well,
Spoilers.
there is a character who dies, and she's
She's
kinda
being projected
she's
somewhere else.
astral projecting, and she's like, I think I've been murdered, and then she dies. And it was a lot like that, where everyone in the
that was
courtroom
so
wasn't sure what was
hard to
happening,
watch.
but she was reacting to actually getting shot.
Well,
Watching
you're
in horror.
seeing it. Yeah, you're seeing it, and there's nothing like especially for Captain Maldonado, she can't do anything, and I think for her, there's nothing worse in the world than seeing something horrible and not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, she had
Totally.
great reaction to that scene where she's like, I think it's been compromised, get to the safe house.
Yeah.
And they show up and it's
Too late. Way too late. But apparently, the gunman is Ethan Avery. And we find this out through Maya, who, like, you're right, I loved her too. And, like, not just that, like, just as, like, an acting nerd, I'm like, oh, what a great part. She, like, has so much to do in this episode. And she was great in it. This girl who can communicate with the dead, kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah. And it was an interesting way for Almost Human to introduce something that other people could consider supernatural through technology. This cerebellix procedure, which, like, a big enough concept that it could merit its own episode.
I think so,
and
too.
Right.
we left her alive at the end of this episode. She may come back.
I hope she does.
I
too.
hope she does too. She left enough of an impression that if she came back, 2 seasons from now, I'd be into it.
I love the idea behind the cerebellix procedure that to enhance intelligence. It's where it begins, right?
Yeah.
You start with I'm going to increase somebody's IQ, their thinking level,
Yeah,
and then
reaction to their senses.
yeah, and then that elevates accidentally, as most scientific discoveries do, into this psychic realm or whatever. My personal theory on the whole psychic thing, to nerd out for a moment, is
Please.
if there's like a sixth sense that we have, that there's a spectrum of information that we can pull from at any time that we just are not capable of perceiving. That's what we see as psychics. They're not really talking to the dead, but they're pulling from this unseen field of information. And if you're heightening your brain to a certain point that you can access this new realm, these new things that we just haven't discovered yet, that would be a really cool way for this to have been achieved. And they still haven't, in the show, they still don't really know why. They said there have been cases of these like semi-psychic events with people that get the procedure, and she's just like accepted it. She's just like, the next day she's like, oh, now I talk to dead people.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny.
I touch their stuff and I can talk to them.
Yeah, but like she gets to talk to everyone but the people who matter, and that was so tragic and sad and like beautiful. And we'll get more into that a little later on. But what I love about this is what they're alleging by doing this is pretty big. They're alleging that in this universe, or even just in the world, that our souls, or whatever you might call them scientifically, do live on to an extent.
Well-
That after our brain functions have stopped, somehow our thought patterns still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge implication, and if they do choose to bring her back, that could bring up important plot points down the road. I really liked the moment she had when she was even perceiving their auras, because she could do that as well.
Yeah.
It's not just talking to the dead. She can see people's auras now. She's like, Kennex, you're really red. You're really angry. He's like, well, it's the same color as apples and Christmas.
Yeah.
But she looks at John and she sees an aura from John. And so that's very interesting that Synthetic Soul gives off an actual aura. She's like, it's very peaceful.
not from
Dorian.
Kennex.
Oh,
from
I'm sorry,
Dorian.
Dorian. Ugh.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
Synthetic
that,
Dorian gets that peaceful, easy side.
but it's
and
not
John is red.
necessarily an aura. She's like, I don't get anything from you. It's just very peaceful. Like, I feel like that's, him being an android. But what that does bring up for me, and that I think is very interesting, is this idea of Synthetic Soul. If she can get human souls and human brain patterns from this cerebellix procedure, what does that mean for a synthetic soul after it's moved on? For example, the other DRNs that went quote-unquote crazy, are their thought patterns still somehow in the ether somewhere? And at some point, will Dorian start to hear them? I mean, that's like a huge leap because he doesn't have, the cerebellix, but we don't know a lot about his model type in the first place.
Or can those human souls also be put back into android models as well? Can
Entirely
Can
possible.
they transfer either way?
And they could have entirely too much D on their hands to deal with. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. My immature 8-year-old brain just can't get over how funny it is that he literally off camera whips it out and Kennex is horrified.
Is that for two people?
Yeah. What do you even do with it? I
Same
do
thing you do.
Nothing.
Wah,
Sick
wah.
burn, Dorian.
Coming at you again.
Oh, I love this show.
Whoever programmed Dorian's sarcasm unit deserves awards.
Right? He's Comedy Bot 5000 from Futurama. But like I'm listening to myself and I'm just like, this is the first time I've said I love this show. Like, this was the episode that cemented it for me. Like, there's, I think every series you have that moment, you've watched enough episodes that you can make an educated opinion. Whether it's not worth your time and you're going to fade out, you like it enough that you'll watch every episode, but you pay attention less and less, or you feel compelled to watch it just because you've invested so much time, or you just start to fall in love with it. And like, I do all these fall shows. I do this, I do Sleepy Hollow, I do Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I mean, with Sleepy Hollow was immediate. This and S.H.I.E.L.D., it took a few episodes, but like, man, do I love this show now. I love this show. And, let's jump into this topic now, because it's all, I think, a certain segment of our listeners can think about. Is that the show has been airing not necessarily out of order, but we leapfrogged over a few episodes.
Like 3 or 4 episodes, yeah.
3 episodes. So when the show originally started airing, we saw the pilot, and then the day after, the show that was the episode that was billed as the second episode or the second part of the pilot was actually episode 5. Skin was the 5th episode of Almost Human produced. It was the second one aired. And then in succession, we saw episodes 5, 6, 7, and now 8. And then next week, we're jumping back to episode 3. So what we've seen so far, with the exception of that gap between the pilot and Skin, has been in order, and it has felt like a natural progression. There was some weirdness, I think.
I agree.
When we watched episode 1, and then episode 2 just felt different. It was moving a bit faster. It was kind of like a darker episode. The relationship between Dorian and Kennex had jumped forward a bit. But this run of episodes has been so nice, I almost don't want them to go back at all. I know that that's like sacrilege to anyone who loves television. You want to watch everything. But I just want to keep it on this. It's rolling nicely. I don't want to interrupt it with what are apparently very fiercely standalone episodes, which are all that we've gotten anyway.
Well, the positive side that could be what happens if you're at Fox and you're looking at these run of episodes, you've seen all 8 of the first episodes at this point. When you've got to make that decision, and you see like, well, these are stronger episodes. What if we took episodes 2 and 3, which 3 we're going to see next week.
Yeah.
But we took these episodes, we maybe retooled them a little bit to fit them in later, do like a couple scenes of a rewrite, and then we slide them in. If you're afraid that the show might not get traction, because really, I agree, this was my episode where it's just like gone from like, I really like the show to, I love this show. I'm never going to stop.
I'm on board. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
I disagree with your apprehension.
Really?
But you can finish and I'll go back to that.
Okay. Well, if they retool the episodes to fit in, then we don't have that concern of like we're going back and then we're going to get the relationship's going to change a little bit. So it might be for the best, because like they might have just wanted us to hit the point that you and I have reached this week, early on, so that we keep watching.
But do you know what I wish? And I know no TV network would ever do this. I almost wish that when they air the episode next week, it opens with like just a title card or a message from J.H. Wyman that's like, so listen, fans, or like people, don't be confused. We're filling in some gaps. Like, I just want every person who watches it, who likes this show, to understand what it is and why they're watching it and have some context. Like, even just like a flashback, like a scene at the top and bottom, and that the whole thing's just a flashback, just so that we don't lose any viewers. The show is doing fine in the ratings, and DVR is helping it a lot, but now that we're so attached to this show, I don't want to leave anything to chance.
Well, I'm personally really worried about them starting off out of order in the first place.
Okay.
I don't know because I didn't watch it on its original run, but I did hear that when they originally showed Firefly, they showed it out of order. They were showing episodes out of order.
Yeah.
And anytime you talk about Firefly and Fox and the way things were handled, alarm bells start going off, going, danger, Will Robinson.
I know, but and I see your point, but with that show, a few factors. First of all, one thing to note is that Firefly, when it got canceled, was pulling a little under 3.5 million viewers a week, which Revolution, when it was like at its height, was pulling 3.5 million viewers and considered a huge hit. Like any show would be killing for those kind of numbers in the demo right now.
Networks would slaughter lambs on altars for those numbers.
It's true. It's true. The producers of any comedy on broadcast would slaughter for those numbers because all of them are under 2 million. But first of all, they aired that show way out of order. They started with episode 2, and then it was just ping-ponging around episodes for the entire run of the show. So no one was able to get a fix on what it was. We're safer because it's a procedural, because it's not very serialized so far, and it's still a case of the week format. I feel like the executives will give it a little more rope because it is familiar. It's not a completely new world vision of a sci-fi Western out there thing. It's a little less original. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's not taking as big of a risk creatively. But now I want to talk with Ryan.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I'm not only going to disagree with you, I'm going to give you a nice segue.
Beautiful.
So,
those are my favorite.
I know, they're awesome. So here's why I disagree. So I agree. I am enjoying the show more and more every week. We're getting a lot of great character development. If you think about music, you think about an album, the first 3, 4, 5 songs of an album are always the better songs. You get to song 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you stop caring. So is this a potential where they said, you know what, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, these are awesome. Let's go to 5, maybe a little bit weaker episode, but give the viewer some stuff, get them involved, get them going, and then jump back to 2, 3, and 4, which could be very, very strong episodes. We don't know that yet.
Television doesn't work that way, though. Granted, if you pressed me, I could probably come up with a few series that were that creatively strong from the very top of the show, but it's so rare. You're still finding the voice, you're still getting to know the characters, and especially on broadcast, the first 3 or 4 episodes are essentially all pilots. You're giving a chance for new viewers to hop in without a lot of investment, so you're basically repeating the concept for a few weeks. And I don't know. I honestly don't know because I don't know what the episodes are about.
And maybe that's what we've gotten because there hasn't been an excessive amount of development. It's been very, very mild in terms of what we're learning about each character each week. Maybe in 2, 3, and 4, there's a lot of character development where now people that are bought into the show are going to say, hey, you know what? I like these characters a little bit, but now I like them even more.
Well, do you think maybe 2, 3, and 4 have more to do with the syndicate that we were talking about?
In Syndicate.
In Syndicate, as we were reminded by a viewer. Also, while we're on the topic, I just want to give a shout out to Tamor Muggo, who is watching us on the YouTube and gave us a nice bit of info that the name for Kennex's ex-girlfriend was in the pilot. It was Anna, which we had missed. And we really appreciate it whenever fans reach out and help us. If you guys don't know, we watch these shows and then immediately come into the studio and tape them. There isn't really a ton of time to go over stuff. We're just going off of first impressions. We're trying to get it to you as quickly as possible. So your help and your understanding help us make a better show. So thank you to Tamor Muggo for that little bit of info.
And as I said before, segue.
Yes.
Check us out on the iTunes.
Yeah. So, hey, folks, you like this show, don't you? You're listening to it.
You should.
You're watching it. That's kind of crazy how much you like this show that you would watch it or listen to it every week. It is a free podcast, free content. AfterBuzz TV, we put out 60 shows a week, all free, all for you. And none of us get paid. We all do it because we're passionate about the show. Now, you may be at home and you may be thinking, you know what? I love this show so much. What can I do to help? I can tell you. One thing that helps us in a huge way, you don't even understand how huge. Go on the iTunes, slap us with a 5-star rating, give us a review, let us know what you think about the show. How are we doing? Are we addressing...
Send us comments, questions.
Yeah.
It makes our day, seriously.
It seriously makes our day. And more than that, it helps keep the show highly searchable. There's something in the internet called SEO, search engine optimization. The shows that have the most ratings are the easiest to find, and it helps us grow our audience and get it to more people. And that helps us get more guests, get set visits, make the show as amazing as it possibly could be.
Yeah, because the show just recently aired out in Japan as well. Fox took it off away to the other side of the world. We're international now at Almost Human.
Almost Human is international. We're international, and we want to make it the best show that it can be, so we need your help. Go on iTunes, slap us with a review, and it also helps our bosses know what we're doing. Here's another thing you could do. If you don't have access to iTunes, or for whatever reason you can't figure out the review system, some folks have come to me and they've said, Matt Lieberman, this is incredibly complex. I'll tell you what you can do. Email info@AfterBuzzTV.com. Subject line, Almost Human is your best podcast. Maybe with an inquisitive question mark like I just phrased it. Almost Human is your best podcast?
Question mark,
And the
question mark.
subject of the email is just yes.
Yes. And then just let our bosses know how much you like the show. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate everyone who tweets at us during the week about the show. We love it as much as you do.
Gets us really excited.
Yes. All right. So let's get back into it. I don't want to waste any more time with self-plugging. Okay. So, Kennex, he is still in the back of his mind. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about Detective Stahl. I mean, he's a lonely boy. He's not using his thing for anything. And he's, recording the game at home while Stahl's getting updates from her MX. And I'm like, I liked this bit, not just because we learned that she's a sports fan, which doesn't surprise me at all, because she's just, kind of like rough and tough kind of chick. But that she's using her MX for something a little fun. And, it kind of gets a sense of her personality. She's addicted to the job, but she doesn't want to miss a thing with the sports. He waits to watch the whole thing in sequence so that he can enjoy it. She's just like, no, I want it now. And that's it's just a fun little thing that helps explain who she is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a great little window into her. We've spent most of our time she's off in the corner being attractive. And now we actually get to know her. She
finally leaves the office.
Yeah, I love seeing that because the last couple episodes I've been like, oh, when is she gonna get out there?
Is she really a cop, or is she like Rudy, just hangs out in the basement?
But then she finally leaves and immediately gets kidnapped.
Well, okay, but
immediately.
First does some pretty serious investigating.
Oh yeah,
right.
And finds the crucial piece of evidence. Good cop, put in a bad situation. Sweeping the house with the MX, got her gun drawn.
It was her idea to take the information out of the shot MX unit, to send it to Rudy so he could analyze it.
Yeah.
Which then Kennex later discovers is missing the earpiece, so they can find out how they're tracking them.
Yeah, no.
And also the information about the cloning.
She's a very, very good cop, and she does not crack under the pressure of being kidnapped. Okay, these clones kill everybody. They kill everybody they come across. She finds crucial evidence, likely sent it to her bosses at the police station, and they didn't kill her? I don't know. Maybe they were like, okay, yes, we'll use her as a bargaining chip, which, good plan if they had actually taken him out of prison. But it was just it stuck out to me. I guess all you have to do is just find their house and be, I don't know. For a hot second, I'm like, oh my God, no, they're going to kidnap her and she's going to be like their weird family sex slave.
Puts the lotion on the skin.
Oh, man.
No, but I don't know. They're all creepy. They all have the same brain. They don't get out much. I'm just saying, gift wrapped. Terrifying thought indeed.
Teed up.
Minka Kelly walks into your house. What do you do?
What
Tie
do
her up
you
to
do?
a chair.
Yeah,
first
pop
off.
quiz, hotshot. Detective Stahl walks into your house. She discovers your creepy clone basement. What do you do? Totally. Oh, gross. Okay. But what I really loved about their scene together at the end of the episode, not only because it was prophesized by Maya, Sarah Bellick's crazy psychic, it was just a very lived-in, easy moment. He's enjoying his soccer game, but he couldn't be bothered to leave the station. She's there late, too. And they just share this quiet moment. And I don't know. Everyone else on the show, especially Dorian, has been saying how much these two have in common. And it finally...
John.
It was finally a case of show, don't tell. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We saw it, and I bought it for a hot second. And I'm like, okay, now you can push this on me.
Well, that moment at the end when she walks in with the bourbon, I mean, there's not a lot sexier than a woman walking in and handing you a glass of
Wanting
whiskey.
to watch sports.
Yeah.
I can think of some stuff.
I I really like how Dorian's basically, been prodding, like kind of wanting to play matchmaker. I thought that was really
he gets
funny.
bored in his weird, creepy clone basement
He's
apartment.
like, I got to get out of there. I got to move out. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It was nice to, instead of talking about how much of a great couple they'd be, it was nice to actually see them just have a moment, sit down together. And that was the other kind of weird thing about, like, oh, you two should hook up. It's like they haven't really talked on their own a whole lot.
So it's like a
So it
Shakespeare
was
play.
nice.
You met one scene and now you're making love.
Which, like, now I feel like when we get in episode 2, 3, and 4, one of them is just going to be the two of them sharing the screen together the whole time and going through some kind of ordeal that would maybe plant this thought in Dorian's head instead of it just kind of occurring to him. But I'm sorry, I can't get my head out of Dorian's little android bunker with all these MXs, and it further illustrates how different he is from everybody else. In that, first of all, he's the only black android, only DRN. He sticks out like a sore thumb. Everyone else has the same face. Everyone else has the same face.
Well, there's like some of them are darker or like one of the.
There are
they look-
three
one
guys
looks-
who
yeah.
play the MXs. Three guys who play the MXs. They all have the same voice, but it's three different actors who play all the MXs
Right.
on the show. But it just goes to show kind of even further how lonely his existence is. His relationship with Kennex matters that much more because he doesn't have any other relationships.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was great, I loved in that scene where he goes, "I need my own place."
Yeah.
Like the idea of him wanting is something that I love when they play with, because and what this episode just dives right into head first is that he's looking for a sense of self. And then we get that played with again when we deal with the clones, and the clones are in there. They all have this goal. They're like, "Wouldn't you want to save yourself?" But he's not them just because they share DNA. And it's like, these are two different people. They have no sense of self. And Dorian is trying to find his sense of self while he's there. The MXs have no sense of self because they're just mechanical.
But I feel like these clones, they do have a sense of self. It's just misguided. It's a shared sense of self that has been kind of pushed on them by this father figure of the original Avery. Like Stahl makes this point of like, why are you trying to help this guy who kept you trapped in a basement for 10 years, and kept you a secret and didn't let you live a life? Because these are people. They're clones, but they're people.
I do love the great quote, though, that the one unit had. He said, "He is us. How far would you go to save yourself?"
Yeah.
So, like, technically, he's them. So his thoughts are their thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder, and it begs, one of the things I love so much about the show is that every episode seems to bring up these big philosophical questions, which any great sci-fi show should do, is if you were in that situation and, another you was somewhere, how would you react? How far would you go? And I'm trying to think, if I was captured, would I save myself? How far would I go? What tactics would I use? And I kind of fear for my safety because I'm like, I don't know how far I'd go. I'd probably just be afraid.
Well, then you start thinking about, what does the you that's captured want? Does the you that's captured, if it's going to end well if it's going to end poorly for both of you, does the other you think, just
Get
stay
away from
away?
here.
Yeah, run.
Go live a life.
No.
Do everything I wouldn't have done and have accomplished. Yeah.
And-
Go to the gym.
And even within their group, I mean, you can still see that there are differences in personality. Like, there was sort of the alpha one, and then there was the one that you could tell had a temper and everything like that. So, like, even when you share the same DNA and you're literally locked in a basement together, like, there's still differences there. And I thought that was
about
very
multiplicity. And it's like how it slowly gets progressively like retarded down the line. He clones himself and clones himself and then clones himself again. Mm-hmm. Anybody?
I've never seen the film Multiplicity. I do have a photographic thing of the poster
where it's just Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
Michael Keaton.
which now wait, it was Michael Keaton.
His clone.
I have to see this
His
movie.
clone clones himself, and it gets progressively like slower because it's like a clone of a
it's
clone
like
of
it's like a VHS dub.
Yeah.
Like the more you copy something, the less information it has.
It's like House of Cosby's.
It's like House of Cosby's. It's 100% like House of Cosby's. If those of you at home have never seen a wonderful internet video called House of Cosby's, I highly, highly recommend it. It will be the highlight of your month. Okay.
But we do see, though, with the clones, they do try to save themselves at the end when they realize that their plan has been busted up.
Yeah.
And the hologram gets haywire. They try to flee and they try to save themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why they're brought into existence in the first place. We get this doctor who I freeze framed and like read his little note that Detective Stahl
It was
found.
about the science.
Yeah, and he really wants to study them. I mean, the fact that they have different personalities is a testament to what he was doing. It's like you have like these 4 guys being raised the exact same DNA to the RNA. I don't know how to. I'm not good at science.
Down to the chromosome. Down to the
Down
very
to the
last chromosome.
ribonucleic acid.
Yeah.
But now you have an older child version, a younger child version, a middle child version, and how much does that play into it? And that's what this guy was trying to study, albeit a non-sanctioned, illegal study.
Right.
And then he freaks out when he's like supposed to not be able to release it and everything.
Well, it goes back to your point about the cerebellix procedure and how in science it's often it's the accidents, the things that we're not prepared for, that are the most astounding. And I think that cloning is a big enough deal, but discovering what we probably would about the human psyche from his experiment and from being able to study all of these clones in their natural habitat, all being raised the same way, yet developing personalities, likely would have forever changed our understanding of human psychology. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We have to move on just for time. But I want to talk about Dorian, and I want to talk about Maya and their very sweet relationship. We touched on it a little bit before, but this is not the first time that we've had Dorian kind of like make a connection with someone and have it really truly affect him and try to affect them back. We saw it back in Skin when it was that poor android with the human DNA that got decommissioned. He really does feel for other people. His empathy, I think, is his strongest attribute. Not even just as an android, but as a person. Like, it takes someone very, very special to have that level of empathy. I'm honestly jealous of it. It's true. What more could you want than to really understand another person? Especially if you're not considered a person.
Yeah, he doesn't just help out when he sees an opportunity. He went out of his way in this episode to go look up, probably fill out some requisition paperwork, and get her these possible things that just might help her.
Right, and he could have, been laughed out of the station. Like, why would a droid, why would a synthetic want files? I'm not releasing this to you. He potentially risked favor in the department to get this woman something that she desperately needed, which is just her ability to get closure and to potentially to talk to her parents, and the look on her face when she heard their voices. And I nearly started tearing up. It was a level of deep, real emotion that you don't get on a cop show, and you're lucky to get 3 times a season on a sci-fi show. It really was beautiful. And it's one of those things that that moment, even more than any of the cool sci-fi stuff or the funny characters or anything, that to me is why I want to see 7 more seasons of this show, if they can give me more of that, because that's the real juice, man. Sorry,
and we're getting it.
No,
we got it with
really
Rudy
good.
a couple weeks ago, and then we're getting it with her. So they're progressively adding it more and more, where people are wanting that, obviously, because that's why they keep putting it in. So
Feelings.
Yeah.
No, when he brought out, when
all Dorian
when
wants is feels. It's true.
it's what he gives all the fans.
Sorry, I cut you
But when when they're first talking, and you find out this is why she got the procedure, I had a feeling that that he was going to do something to try to help her, because that's just so much a part of his nature. Like, you're bringing up, we know that's the thing about his character now. But at the end, when he hands her the box and walks away, I was wondering, I was like, okay, what is she going to pull out? What survived?
Yeah.
And just when she pulls out the doorknob, I thought that was perfect, because it was just so simple. It wasn't
metal doorknob. Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, that would make sense that it would survive a fire. But it was also just very, very simple, because that's something, it's the entrance to your home.
Yes.
And so it was very simple, but very poignant at the same time.
A
It's just
door
like,
once closed, now open. I agree.
Deep.
All right, what else we got?
Hey, we got to talk about Dorian and his superhuman ability again.
Oh yeah, which was specifically
Pointed
out
Kennex.
this week, because he should not be able to do that.
To run that fast and throw the van.
I don't think anyone on the police force is aware that he's able to flip a van over. I don't think he knew.
It was almost looked like an accident, but then it's very clear that van was just driving away. It had a busted tire, but he grabs it.
And he ran it down too.
And he looked scared. You're right. It looked like it surprised him. He was like, "What just happened?"
It was shocking. I don't think he's aware of it because he feels like one of us. He feels like one of us. How shocked and terrified would you be to discover that you had that kind of power if it never occurred to you and you never had received any inkling of it until, like, how old is he? He's maybe a year old. Maybe. He got decommissioned pretty early into life.
Yeah, we don't know what he was doing before he got decommissioned. So it's almost like I was just rewatching Amazing Spider-Man the other day, and it's that moment where you get your powers and he's ripping things off the wall because you don't realize how strong you all of a sudden are. Maybe this is his moment of like, I didn't know my body could do that.
Yeah.
Well,
am I dangerous?
Yeah. What I worry about is what did happen. Like, why? Yeah, you're right. Why was he just decommissioned? And, they say in the intro to each episode, that's one of the crazy ones. Well, what happened with Dorian? And what does that mean for future episodes? Is there going to be a moment where he just loses control of himself?
And I brought that up a couple weeks ago, saying I'm waiting for the episode where he does something emotionally based. And the reason that these models are dangerous was because they were emotional and they were uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an episode, I think, in the future where something happens that he does something that you're like, whoa.
Well, I worry a little bit. I get reminded of the animated version of Metropolis. You have this really innocent, humanoid being, but there's such dark potential there with what it was actually meant for. And it's like, well, what if the person who was actually designing the DRNs had, a negative
motive.
purpose, something darker.
Yeah. That is interesting because we've yet to really explore that part of the mythology, namely who designed these androids. Rudy maintains them. He's definitely an enthusiast. I don't think he invented them.
No, and one thing, while I was researching, I was looking at the episode order thing. J.H. Wyman made a point of saying that after these episodes come and finish their doing of all this like flipping around, once it's done, which is around episode 7 or 8.
Which tonight was episode 8. You're right that it gets far more serialized. They can't air them out of order at that.
Yeah, and I think he said he's going to start dealing with stuff like where did Dorian come from.
Great.
Good.
So that I'm so excited for.
Very excited. Okay, I think on that note, it may be time to go into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so let's pick up all the threads that we have so far in this story. I know that we're taking a jump back in time next week, but we can still look ahead to what we think the show is giving us. So we have Dorian, who every week is making more emotional connections and is becoming more self-aware, but is also capable of things, dangerous things, that he was not aware of. He has this strength that is potentially frightening, potentially dangerous to our human compadres. We've got Maldonado and the defense attorney who played Sheriff Andy on Eureka.
Little moment there.
And like he didn't
Loving
ask
her
her
power.
out. He just like, you look very nice today. And I'm like, just ask her out.
Couldn't figure out where he was from.
Sheriff
Thank you
Andy,
so much, man.
Sheriff Andy from Eureka. Well, they shoot in Canada. It's all the same pool. All the sci-fi shows. So we got her. She doesn't trust anyone in the department. Kennex is dealing with the loss of Anna and her betrayal, and he still doesn't know everything that happened with the In-Syndicate attack. D-bag Detective Paul, we don't know that much about. Stull is warming up to Kennex and maybe likes him a bunch. We don't know yet. And
About this much?
yeah, give or take.
Not Dorian.
About a not a Dorian length. Can we call like 14 inches a Dorian? And it's just a unit of measurement.
What's the over-under on his...
Let's not even explore it and just strike it from the record again. I should be thrown.
How about we
from
just get
this
these predictions
studio.
out there instead?
I should be thrown 8 Dorians in the air. Anyway, Zach, predictions for next week and for the future.
Well, just for the future, I think we're gonna find out. Well, obviously more about Dorian's past, but I think we're gonna. find out that somebody involved in the Syndicate, is it the Syndicate?
It's just in Syndicate.
Syndicate
We just
is
like to say
somehow
something.
involved in whatever got the DRNs decommissioned. I think there's going to tie in. I'm still looking forward to seeing where the ex-girlfriend comes back, Anna, where she comes back into play. Because I think her and Dorian, I think they're going to wind up being involved, not the two of them directly, but their storylines are going to collide at some point that just in the right time to be dramatic for Kennex.
Great.
I think we'll see more with the Syndicate as well, because the trailer showed us like almost an in-time version of a heart failure because the guy didn't pay his bill for his fake heart. So I think we're going to get more with the Syndicate maybe controlling that, something as a way for them to make money. And I also would like to see more with Anna as well. So
Great. Megan?
Yeah, it was funny that you bring that up because I was looking at it. It was like,
In
that's
time.
the cheap version of Repo Man. It's like, I'm too lazy to go repossess the heart. I'm just going to turn it off. So that'll be interesting. I think you're absolutely right. I think this in Syndicate, not the Syndicate. They're too cool to be the Syndicate.
Yeah.
I think in Syndicate, it definitely has a lot of stuff in play. We'll definitely see Anna come back. I'm very interested to see just more character development. I want to know about Rudy. We got a little bit of Rudy last week, but I want to know his backstory. I want to know, all these people's backstory. So we'll get more into that, but I think you're absolutely right. I think there's something darker.
Matthew Lieberman, your turn.
I'm all about the Dorian self-awareness, strength storyline, and when that's going to boil over. That, to me, is like one of the most fascinating things on TV right now, because we don't get characters like this who, are in the nascent stages of, like, childhood, basically, who are gifted with this level of power. I know we mentioned Firefly earlier, but it reminds me of Summer Glau's character. Very, very excited about that. And hopefully we won't have to wait too long to get back into the proper flow of episodes. I don't know what's airing after episode 3 airs next week, but as soon as we know, we'll tell you.
And we'll bring it to you live.
Yes. Okay, where can the people
Megan.
find you, Megan?
Ladies first.
You can find me at the Menguin on Twitter and also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on AfterBuzz.
Okay, Ryan Hooks.
You can find me at RyanHooks92 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Yahoo. Also on TV's Revolution. And tomorrow, Mob City.
Oh,
Live, Frank
exciting.
Darrenbaum, TNT.
I've heard that is good.
Amazing.
Zach Wilson, where can
You
people
can find me on Twitter at @ThatZachWilson, ThatZachWilson.
Okay, and you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. I also joined Instagram this week.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm going to post a picture of you.
I took the plunge.
Welcome, brother.
I'll post pictures and videos and stuff. But that is at Matty Lieberman because all the other good derivations of my name were taken. So that's Matt Y. Lieberman. You can also find me here on AfterBuzz TV on Sleepy Hollow, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the season finale of Sons of Anarchy, and Betas, which was supposed to start last week but is starting this Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you next week. Good night.
Good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.